At a time in American history where our personal freedoms and liberties are under attack, local leadership has never had a bigger impact on your life and on your kids' lives. Think about this. Some mayors and governors are mandating masks, mandating the complete shutdown of their local economies, shutting down schools, banning praise and worship from church services, or banning church services altogether. At a time when your personal rights are under attack, you want to have a local mayor that has your back. And on today's show, we're interviewing a man by the name of Ken Reddick, and he wants to be Tulsa, Oklahoma's next mayor. He's running as a Republican, and he wants your vote. And now, without any further ado, let's meet Ken Reddick.
Mayor! Now that's a good idea.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women. 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes! Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere, sharing the truth from the booth. Paul Hood, you're looking good. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely, without a doubt, amazing, Clay Clark. How are you?
Well, Paul, I'm excited that you are here.
Yes.
Because you and I live in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You are a CPA.
I am.
You have practices all across the country.
Yep.
You have clients all over the country. At multiple locations in Oklahoma. You serve thousands of clients. And when you're sitting down looking at the P&L, at the profits and loss statements of your clients,
Yeah, those things.
how long can a business survive if there's only L? If there's only losses? On a profit and loss statement, if there's only losses because the business is shut down, if you do the math, you have time to think about it. I want to paint you into a corner. But as a CPA, professionally speaking, how long can a business owner afford to continue just losing money?
Well, Clay, the average business, and I don't even like using the word average, the majority of businesses might be able to survive 45 days because most businesses are either in a growth mode, so they're investing money and churning the sales and the collections and all of that process, or they're just a 1 or 2 man shop and they're spending all they make. So we try to help businesses. We consult with businesses a lot to try to have 6 months. But the reality is you're talking 45 days at the most.
Now, we have a thriver here. Jay, I'm going to see if I can have you hop on the mic real quick. Jay is a chiropractor. He is here from the Nashville, Tennessee area, where they have a very lockdown mayor. It's and Jay, hopefully there's some headphones over there. He has kind of a lockdown mayor, a guy who's a fan of profound shutdowns, keeping the city shut down. And Jay is a chiropractor or is a restaurant owner or anybody who's doing business in Nashville. How are things looking there?
Pretty bleak.
Pretty bleak?
Lots of for lease signs. Lots of people. You can just tell that people have lost their businesses. It's not great.
Not great.
No.
Well, Paul, I mean, you had something you wanted to add there, Paul.
Well, I was just, I just think it's idiotic. There's plenty of people, and I was listening to a guy the other day that talks about freedom is messy. And freedom is dangerous sometimes because we have the freedom to make choices, but we have to accept those consequences. And when the government gets involved to take away the risk that we have by taking away our choices, that takes away our freedom. Now, I don't have a problem with a mask, because if it's my house, and I talked about this sometime, if it's my house and you walk up and you have muddy shoes on and I ask you to take your shoes off and you refuse to, you're not getting in my house. But it's my house to make that choice. And it's your choice to turn around and leave or to take your shoes off. So when a business says, I've got to wear a mask to come into their business, high five. That's America. That's their choice to require that. And it's my choice. If they want to. It's my choice to turn and walk away. But when the government comes in and takes away that choice, then there's a problem, because they're taking away our freedom and just for the sake of safety, and it's idiotic. And most of these people making these decisions, Clay, is what bugs me, have never owned a business. They've never had to work for a paycheck. They've won a popularity contest, a pageant, and they're all of a sudden they're the expert on everything there is to be an expert on, and they do not understand our system of economics.
Well, what I thought we would do on today's show is we live in Tulsa, and I thought, why don't we interview a guy who's actually running for mayor in Tulsa?
Sure.
And just so the listeners out there from coast to coast know this, our mayor has decided to be one of the most progressive mayors in America, although he ran as a conservative.
Liar.
He actually was in the New York Times talking about how he wanted to be one of the most progressive mayors in the country, one of the most liberal mayors in the country, as related to COVID-19, but yet he ran as a conservative.
Never owned a business.
He's doing mandated masks. And so here we have Plan B. Or maybe Plan A. I don't know. We have an option here in Tulsa to vote here for GT Bynum or Ken Reddick if you're a conservative. So Ken, welcome onto the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
Hey, thank you. I'm good.
Hey, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tee up a lot of questions here for you in a row, and I'm just gonna kind of get out of your way. Okay? So I'm gonna tee up some questions. Yeah. First question is, what's your take on mandated masks? Just give us your take. Mandated masks. Are you in favor of mandated masks? Yes or no?
No.
And why not?
I don't think they should be mandatory. I think everyone should have the right to choose what level of risk they accept into their life.
So you're saying if I'm listening and I'm in the Tulsa area and I want to wear a mask or not wear a mask, you're okay with that?
Feel free. Evaluate your risk. Make that decision on your own.
Okay. Next thing. Lockdowns. Are you in favor of mandated lockdowns where you shut everybody's business down and you beg for the government to bail you out? Are you in favor of that?
No.
Hang on, Clay. In all fairness, they're not shutting down all businesses, just all small businesses. You can still go to Walmart. You can still go to Lowe's and hang out with 500 of your friends and have their business be up 800%. But it's the small businesses that they're discriminating against.
So you're opposed to lockdowns, Ken?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, again, I'm just getting into the hot button here. So you're opposed to mandated masks.
Correct.
You're opposed to mandated shutdowns.
Correct.
How else do you differ with GT Bynum? Like, give me a line item where you say he's in favor of this, I'm in favor of that. Let us know how you're different.
So he also favors a more, like you've stated, a more progressive platform. He has invited other progressive agents into our city to help him build his agenda and move forward in Tulsa. He is fully compliant with the Mayor's Challenge, fully developed by professors from Harvard and Bloomberg himself. So he's completely bought into their agenda, and he's implementing it here in Tulsa.
Okay, I'm going to look this up real quick. I'm going to look up GT Bynum and then New York Times. That's what I'm looking up right now. And I'm going to read some of the headlines for the folks so they can actually read this. And Paul, they can do a deep dive later.
Let's get it.
This is what GT says. This is the headline title. He says, I'm a red state mayor, and I ordered my city to stay... And he's talking. This is the article. This is the New York Times, folks. This is not clayclark.com. He says, I'm a red state mayor, and I ordered my city to remain shut down. So I just want to ask you, why do you think he wrote an op-ed for the New York Times? Why do you think that is there, Ken?
I mean, he's just buying into their system. He's bragging about how progressive he can be.
So you're saying that he's bragging about how progressive he can be?
Correct. He was showing support to the agenda, the nationwide agenda, to favor a shutdown. So
the actual article is, I'm a red state mayor, and I ordered my city to stay home.
Right, like that's big and, ballsy of him to do.
Okay, so do you feel, Ken, that he was kind of a bait and switch? Like he ran as a conservative and then it is not that? How would you describe him?
So he registered as a Republican. I don't believe he ever ran as a conservative. He ran as an ideas guy. He pitched us a lot of ideas. He tried to diversify the sales tax code. He said we need more diversification in our sales tax collection. He ran on building partnerships with Tulsa Public Schools, which is in desperate need of help, $20 million shortfall this next fiscal year. He just ran on ideas. He ran on building coalitions across the entire community, and he hasn't done any of that. I don't think he bait and switched anyone. I saw right through him from the start. I gave him a chance when he did ask me to serve as his mayoral appointee to the Sales Tax Overview Committee. I sat on the committee for a little while, and I backed out once I saw the true colors.
Okay, so you were asked by GT Bynum to do what?
Serve as his mayoral appointee on the Tulsa Sales Tax Overview Committee.
How did you meet him originally?
He reached out to me directly
And
after the 2018 election.
And so why did he reach out to you directly? Like, what is your background?
I'm a certified project manager, and I'm an electrician with a utilities construction background.
So he reached out to you.
Correct.
Now, Paul, this is a thing. We've all known somebody a little bit. Jay, we've all met somebody where we think we know who they are.
Right.
Right.
And we've all been in that time in our life. I remember I was going on a date with this girl in college, and I won't mention her first name because she'll know who she is. But I thought things were going well. We had one date, things were going good. And I've been very clear as a college guy. I wanted to have 5 kids. I want to start my own business. I'm very clear about what I wanted out of this life. And she kind of was saying these things. But then one day we were on date 2, maybe date 3. And I remember her just saying something like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And all of a sudden I'm going, I thought this person was a conservative person who wanted to be a conservative Christian, build a conservative Christian family. I thought that's who she was. But she switched on me.
Yep.
And was telling me, no, I'm at ORU. That's just something you say at Oral Roberts University. But I really am more progressive. When was the moment where you realized, Ken, you're going, I can't be down with this? I mean, what was the moment where you said, I can't do this. I cannot be a part of this?
It was about after my 3rd subcommittee meeting. When they had just shook hands with someone that just came into the room. It was a local contractor. It was a partnership that Tulsa had with a local institution, and they said they were sorry. They were $2.5 million over budget, 90 days behind schedule. The entire committee thanked them for coming in. They said, you keep trucking along. That's fine. That's acceptable. And when I went to the mayor's office to explain what had happened in my meeting that day, they could care less. So once I saw that there was no accountability across the board, I was no longer naive about how I felt about GT.
So let's talk about this. You said that GT has been courting or hanging out with people from Harvard and from Bloomberg, or tell us.
So the mayor's challenge was developed by professors at Harvard and Bloomberg's administration. So in 2014, they put the mayor's challenge together. It's along with the governor's challenge as well. But it was a data-driven, systematic approach to city government, state government. So they first went to Europe, collected data, implemented policies, tried out a couple things, tested it out all along this hemisphere, and then they moved into the United States, and they wanted mayors to get on board. And if you would implement their policies 100%, at the end of the year, they would give away a few $1 million awards, and Tulsa did receive that award.
I would like to read something to you guys. I got a little commercial queued up here that's coming in here hot and from fresh. Paul, can you see my screen from where you are?
I can see it.
Okay, this is a Fox News article. Ken, I'm going to read this to you, and you tell me when you feel like you've heard enough. Okay, you just listen for a while and you just take it all in. This is from Harvard here, and then Paul, you can just tell me at the point where where I lose you as
should I gag or
yeah. This is from Fox News, and the article is titled "Epstein Bankrolled Harvard Scientists to Bioengineer His Own Human Race." Now, this is Epstein, the prolific pedophile, and I'm going to read to you the article. It says, reports emerge that Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier who is accused of child sex trafficking, sought to breed his own human race as funded by Harvard-trained and various upper echelon scientists to realize this dream. A lengthy report released by the New York Times on Wednesday revealed that Epstein manipulated his wealthy and educated connections to engage his fascination with genetic engineering and transhumanism, or the science of improving the population through genetic modification and artificial intelligence. Through his New Age eugenics, Epstein planned to breed his own race using his Santa Fe, New Mexico ranch as the ground zero for his community. There he would inseminate 20 women with his sperm. Epstein, through extravagant dinner parties, hosted events at Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics, to which he donated $6.5 million, and sponsored conferences on his private island to attract his associates. Well, among the scientists Epstein consulted with were Nobel Prize-winning physician Murray Gell-Mann, who discovered the quark, Nobel laureate and the MIT's theoretical physicist Frank Wilczek. And I read this and I'm saying, I really don't know that there's a lot of people in the last 5 to 10 years at Harvard that are in leadership that I want to spend a lot of time with.
No.
Do you feel the same way, Ken, or have I lost my mind?
No, you're correct. Yeah.
I mean, do you? I mean, is that worrisome to you, Paul? Is that worrisome
It
to
is,
you?
but Clay, it goes back to that these people want a popularity contest. They've never accomplished anything in their life economically. It's kind of like, if we're looking at the President of the United States, if I own a country, there's probably not a single president, Republican or Democrat, over the last 20 years that I would hire to run my company other than Trump. He's got experience. Now, is he a politician? No. But the local people, and I was talking about this with my kids the other day, that the people that run for office, and I'm not including Ken here, is most of the time are people that either have inherited money, that they're like your nosy neighbor that calls the cops every time you maybe you got a blade of grass on their side. They have nothing better to do, but they're the ones that are making decisions. And for them to make decisions, though, they've got to be led. And they're led by these ultra-liberal think tanks like at Harvard, like Epstein, and all they do is they just institute that because they institute that to be able to get to win a next popularity contest.
Okay, so I want to read this to you. This is a headline from the Tulsa World, Ken, and you tell me if you're down with this idea. This is from the Tulsa World. It reads here: Mayor Bynum says he's taking Obama's advice about asking experts questions in a crisis. Again, Mayor Bynum says he's taking Obama's advice about asking experts in a crisis. April 16th, 2020. What do you think about that?
I can imagine what Obama said. He probably said, never let a crisis go to waste.
You're a pretty direct guy. So now we find ourselves going, okay, we know how you differ from GT.
Right.
I'd like to get into what you're in favor of.
Okay.
So I'm on your website, Ken Reddick for Mayor.com. Ken, K-E-N, Reddick, R-E-D-D-I-C-K, for Mayor.com. And I'm going to read off some of the things on your site, and you can kind of break them down for me.
Okay.
It says you're in favor of cutting taxes.
Absolutely.
Building coalitions.
Yep.
Better schools.
Mm-hmm.
Safer neighborhoods.
Yep.
Supporting our city's finest.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So my final question, then we'll get into your points here. Are you in favor of defunding the police? Are you saying, let's defund that police?
No, absolutely not. I want to relieve the stress on our police. I want to relieve them of their burdens of everyday work and let them go home, feel a little bit safer about serving their community.
You're not a big fan of defunding the police?
No, absolutely not. I want to create organizations that help serve the police and alleviate them of the common burdens they receive every day.
You're not a big fan of defunding the police? Paul, I don't know if this guy's going to win. He's not in favor of defunding the police. He's not in favor of mandated masks. Not in favor of mandated shutdowns. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people out there that just want to be perpetually shut down. They like the idea of wearing masks, and they love the idea of not feeling safe. I don't know, if you're going to get the votes of the people, the radicals out there. I mean, Jay, aren't you down with having no police being forced to be shut down and wearing masks?
Oh, that sounds like a lot like utopia to me.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm wondering at this point how we could win. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who say, I really want to be shut down. I like poverty, So I guess if you're not in favor of poverty, you're not in favor of lack of safety, Ken might be your guy. So here we go. Ken, cutting taxes. How do you plan to do that?
I'm going to cut taxes by removing the city's sales tax on groceries.
How's it gonna work? Walk me through. If you get rid of it, okay. What's the tax rate approximately? Like 9 cents or something?
In the city of Tulsa, it's 8.517, and the city's portion of that is 3.6.
Okay, so you decide you're going to go ahead and reduce sales tax on groceries.
Correct.
How are you going to make up for the budget shortfall? What do you do?
I believe that it will cause an economic surge throughout the city of Tulsa. People will come here to save pennies on the dollar at the grocery store, and they will shop at our restaurants. They will shop in our strip malls, and stop for gas, stop for lunch.
Wait, that sounds like a businessman thinking competitively against the surrounding towns. That sounds a little bit too much like our system of economics. There, Ken. Be careful.
Yeah, I want to empower the business owner, and in the city of Tulsa, and I believe that's one way to do so.
How much would you lower the taxes if you could, in terms of like actual?
As much as I could. I'd remove the city's portion of sales tax on groceries.
Like 3 cents?
3.6 cents on the dollar.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. Okay. Now, let's talk about better schools.
Okay.
Apparently, like in Chicago right now, it's really popular to not have school at all. Jay, are they not having school in Nashville?
It's going to be online at this point in time, it sounds like.
Yeah. So apparently people are in favor of not having school. So let's talk about this. Better schools. It's controversial because a lot of there's Chicago's in favor of having no schools. New York, no schools. Let's talk about this. Better schools. How are you going to make schools better?
So Tulsa Public Schools is a separate entity from the Tulsa municipality, or the city of Tulsa. So about all you really could do is make them beholden to the city of Tulsa. You'd have to attach it to a performance standard. So we could have a grant writer and allow them to come in for underperforming schools and offer mentorships, counselors, after-school programs, anything that we believe that would help drive the performance of that student in a positive direction.
Okay, I'm going to open it up now for kind of a Q&A here,
Okay.
almost like a round table. So Paul can ask you questions, Dr. J can ask you questions, and then Ryan Wimpy can ask you questions. These are business people.
Okay.
Also, dads, fathers, So we'll start with Paul. Paul, you can ask Ken any questions you want. Ken's running again against Mayor GT Bynum.
Sure.
A lot of times I get GT's name confused. Like a lot of times I want to say Governor Whitmer, but then I realize
Whoops.
no,
Whoops.
he's not. He is not Governor Whitmer. He is GT Bynum.
That's a Freudian slip. That's
I
normal.
find myself wanting to
communist.
say
I don't.
these
know.
are things I want to say. I do have GT's new campaign music for this next re-election campaign. Let me cue it up here. It's beautiful for Comrade GT right there. This is his new theme song. So, okay, Paul. So you know where I stand. But what questions would you have for Ken Reddick about running for mayor of Tulsa?
Yeah. So what I would want to know, Ken, is have you sought people out? Because here's the problem. When you start, it's kind of like when you're raising kids or you're running a business. When you actually base decisions based on facts and not feelings, because GT Bynum and most of the politicians out there, they get elected based on feelings, and then they really don't do anything.
Right.
And so how are you going to bridge that gap for business people like me that says, all right, this guy is electable, but can actually step forth and say, this is why we're doing what we're trying to do?
I'm glad you asked. That's a good question. So my background is project management, and I have to staff a room on every decision with subject matter experts. So my skill set is bridge building. I know where all the camps are at, and I know how to get there, and I specialize in building bridges and connecting everyone. So I very rarely bring my biases into my decision-making skills. Therefore, I have to still accomplish, coming to a resolution on many issues, and I do that collectively. I build coalitions, every day.
But see, we hear that from the other side. So are
Right.
you saying coalitions like 1 + 1 is 2, and this is why we're doing this, not we're doing this because this group over here is yelling the loudest? Because the problem,
Right.
one of the big problems we have is you've got 5 or 6 people that will get together that have nothing better to do today than go down and yell and scream at city council, and they think that's representative of what, and they don't really care what's wrong or right. They care
Right.
what I want to get reelected. So that's what I'm talking about. Is so when project management, you're going to treat the city of Tulsa more like a business,
Correct.
and making decisions based on facts and what benefits, and 1 + 1 is 2
Right.
versus whose feelings is going to get hurt
No,
in
absolutely.
the whole deal. Okay,
And will be
good.
statistically driven.
I like that.
Statistically driven. You're talking about using facts?
Oh,
No.
Come
You
on,
can't do-
man.
You can't. Listen. If you're gonna be the next GT, you can't be looking at facts.
Right.
This whole crap about you're saying we don't have to wear masks. You can't be on Team GT. You can't follow in the footsteps. Paul GT has big shoes to fill.
yeah.
Big shoes. You
Some
can't
would
be
say
filling.
clown
You
shoes.
can't be taking over for him and kind of continuing his legacy if you're
Right.
gonna not mandate masks, not mandate shutdowns, not listen to Obama. I mean, GT Bynum, Tulsa World, says that he's listening to Obama's advice. GT Bynum writing an op-ed in the New York Times. I mean, you fall short of being the next GT.
But
I believe
so with GT, again, he may be a good guy. I've never met him, but he's like all politicians that I've ever known, and that it's like his his pick or our city doctor making all these decisions has virtually
Bruce
no
Dart?
experience in medical.
You're
the
not
medical
down with
field.
Bruce Dart?
Well, yeah, if I was trying to run a hospital, maybe, but not anything with medical. With if I'm going to talk administrative, he can come in and talk to me about how to put processes in with
Dr.
running my
Bruce
business,
Dart
maybe.
got his a doctorate online.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now he's not a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he apparently is also not aware of how economics work. Because Paul, again, if a business is shut, it might not be open.
It might
that's a
not
deep thought.
be open.
Somebody needs to think about that again.
But the problem is, again, is he's pandering to people that for feelings. But the reality is, this is freaking America. It's if I want to force you to wear a mask to come into my office, you're gonna wear a mask or turn around and leave. If I don't want you to wear a mask, then don't come in if you feel like you need to wear a mask. This is freedom is messy, and we get to choose what we want to do. And the only reason he's doing this is because it's feelings.
Feelings.
It's feelings, and so
That'll get people in
if you
trouble.
don't want to be around people, then you stay home. Quit trying to tell me to stay home.
Okay.
That's the whole deal.
All right, so Jay, again, you're coming from Nashville.
Yep.
This is a guy running for mayor of Tulsa. What questions would you have? Then I'm going to let Ryan Wimpy hop on here to interrogate our potential next mayor of Tulsa.
So, all right, as an outsider looking in, right? I don't live here. I was actually surprised to see, in a fairly red state, a progressive mayor in office. It
Right.
seems like for the people who voted for him, maybe on the fence between going between another progressive and more conservative, business-minded man like yourself. What would you tell those people? How are you going to get their vote to go for what makes, as a small business owner, a lot of sense from what you're talking about? And I met you just recently, right? So
Right.
Let's say I'm the guy on the fence.
Mhm.
What are you going to tell me to get my vote?
I'm going to tell you, politics need to be local. If you're implementing data-driven, statistics like he states that he is, it's where is the data coming from? How does that help Tulsa if you're collecting data from socialist cities in Europe and East and West Coast and implementing those policies here? Politics are regional.
Okay. All right. Now, Ryan Wimpy. I'm going to have Ryan Wimpy. He's the founder of Tip Top Canine. He is not a pro Ken Reddick, nor is he an anti Ken Reddick, but he is a father. He's a business owner. I'm sure he's got some tough questions for us. I'm gonna have Ryan hop on the mic real quick here, and then Andrew, get yourself psychologically prepared here. It's our own little mini town hall with mayoral candidate Ken Reddick. And I want to make sure we're on the same page here, Paul. If he wants to fill the shoes of GT.
Yeah.
So far, he's doing a poor job because he's certainly not going to mandate masks. He's not going to mandate shutdowns. He's not going to try to woo and win over the New York Times. He's not going to be listening to the advice of Obama. He's not going to be talking to Harvard for advice on how to run Tulsa. So far, I would just say this. He only will get your vote if you're in favor of freedom.
That's right. Just freedom.
That's it. I mean,
That's
if you're out there saying, I want more, if you're down with the GT theme song, if you want more socialism, more communism, you're not gonna get the. Are you okay, Ken, to not get the communist vote?
Oh, absolutely. We can win without it.
Okay, Ryan, what questions would you have for the potential mayoral? He's wanting to run for mayor of
Yes.
Tulsa here. You got a big election coming up soon. What
Yes,
questions
we do.
would you have? Yeah.
Well, so it's popular right now for a lot of the politicians to be hard on police, which one of our facilities is actually next to a kind of shady motel, and I really, really appreciate the police keeping us safe throughout Tulsa. And so, what I know Mayor Bynum wants to put lots of restrictions on Tulsa's finest, and then he's also down to use National Guard and other stuff like that. So what's your opinion? What are you wanting to do with the Tulsa police, and as far as putting extra restrictions on them that make them scared to enforce stuff, if that makes sense?
Right. So our stance, we want to stand shoulder to shoulder with our frontline workers. We fully support our local police department, our local law enforcement agents. We've met with the FOP. We've met with many officers from the TPD. We're receiving a lot of support from the Tulsa Police Department. We do not like GT's idea of implementing a new oversight committee over the police department. We believe that its one and only purpose is to undermine publicly the police department and to turn maybe the public against them on a pretty serious issue. And in times of Ferguson syndrome and PTSD and issues across the board. These police don't feel safe eating in their own communities. So they need to have a public servant. They need to have a leader at City Hall that says, I stand with the police. I'm in full support of them, and we're moving forward with our agenda.
Okay,
Awesome.
so you're in favor of supporting a strong police department.
Correct. Law and order.
Because I don't want our police officers to be afraid if someone is using deadly force against them to pull their gun.
Right.
Right. So I feel like that's great. We literally have had next to one of our facilities, there was an officer-involved shooting where someone drew down on him, right? And so with all the restrictions, and someone drew down on a police officer, and the police officer literally...
When you say drew down, what do you mean?
He said, "Hey, I'm not getting out of the car," and he pulled a gun on the officer.
Whoa!
And it was on body cam and everything. This was 2 years ago, but I really appreciate them. And when I see some of the other cities, even like in Dallas, and some of those places now, they're like, "Oh, if someone comes at you with a knife, you can't pull your gun." Well, that's just going to make sure these cops are just waiting, and they're going to call for tons of backup. And we want them to be bold. Like, I appreciate the cops, you know.
Right. Yeah. It's becoming an actual, life risk for police officers. They're second guessing themselves in the field all the time. There was a female officer very recently that she survived her attack, but it was brutal. And her statement afterwards was there was no way she was pulling the gun on the black gentleman.
That's crazy.
Well, and now, Ken, I don't think you're saying. Are you saying that you're okay with just giving police officers just total authority to do anything they want? Because there's bad police officers. You're not saying that, right? You're saying that you hold them to a standard, but also they're out there every day dealing with the worst of the worst, and so they've got to have the freedom to do their job.
I have some offensive ideas, and I hate to do this, but here we go. I have employees who work on our team, different companies, and I consult a lot. Now, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and Ryan, you can disagree because I know you are one of the most optimistic guys ever.
I am. Sometimes I feel like you're a little negative. You don't even watch CNN, but sometimes.
Okay, so I'm gonna share again. I rebuke those words, but the facts remain. CBS reports that 75% of employees do steal from the workplace.
Not mine.
Right. Certainly not mine. Nobody we know. Just other people on other planets are stealing. But we know that 75% of employees are stealing, according to the CBS News, World Report, U.S. Chamber. We also know that 85% of employees are lying on their resumes, according to Inc. magazine. I have found throughout my lifetime, the vast majority of police officers are at a higher caliber of character than the average man. See, I said it. You didn't say it, Ken. I said it. I have to boo myself. I'm just saying the level of background checks that it takes to become a police officer and the police academy and the training that goes into it. I mean, they're not going to just give anybody a handgun. So I'm saying on average, I find that the average police officer is a good guy.
Sure.
Is a good lady.
Yeah.
Now, there are bad people, true, but statistically, I think there are more of the average employees I've employed. If I had to pick, Clay, line up all of your former employees and all of the police officers, and we're doing like a pickup game of business, and you say, pick the people least likely to steal. I'm going with the police officers.
Right.
Because I've hired a lot of people. Ryan, I mean, do you think the police officers, as a general rule, are high character
As
people?
a general rule, we've trained a lot of police officers own German Shepherds and a lot of those type dogs.
Yeah.
And so we've trained a ton of Tulsa police officers, Tulsa County Sheriff, Broken Arrow Police Department, and a lot of them are very, very, very high quality people. I rarely do I ever encounter like a scammy police officer. Now, occasionally some of the guys that are just in the jails, like that work in a private penitentiary, sometimes those guys can be like power trippy. But as far as the actual police officers in our Tulsa area, Broken Arrow, like we've literally trained a ton of them, and they've all been really, really nice people.
I want to get.
I mean, they're taking a hard job for not that much pay.
It's a
their
hard
life's
job.
at risk.
Okay, Andrew has some questions for you. I'm sure here. We'll get Andrew on the mic here for a second. Andrew, also has no connections to Epstein, also no connections to Communist China, also is not in favor of, he sounds like a bad guy. He's not in favor of mandated masks. He's not in favor of mandated shutdowns. Probably a shady character. Andrew, how old are you?
I just turned 22.
22? And
22 again.
Have you had jobs that you've held in the Tulsa area?
Yeah, absolutely.
What jobs?
I have worked in Tulsa Hills area, so I
Nice
used to
area.
work over there, and worked at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, good for you.
Okay. All right.
Doing
So,
God's work.
what questions?
that's right.
What questions do you have here for Ken Reddick, who may just be the next mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah, so one kind of related to that is there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time in Tulsa, a lot of time in the area, a lot of time, that those whatever the mayor does affects them greatly. Who
Absolutely.
can vote for the Tulsa mayor?
You have to be a registered voter inside Tulsa city limits.
Okay, perfect. Having a little mic issues
And if
over
you've
here.
recently moved here, you have until July 31st to still qualify for the August 25th elections.
July 31st.
So do you have
hurry
to
up and
be?
vote.
Can
Hurry
you
up and register.
can you not be alive and mail in a ballot? You can do a
We've
mail-in ballot.
discovered that is an issue.
Really? It is an issue.
Absolutely.
People who are not alive vote.
Correct.
How do
I
you know
was-
this to be true?
Well, you've seen the data. And I was standing in line recently for the primary elections and witnessed a gentleman ask the polling station worker if he could have his sister's ballot. He was told to go
Wow.
get his sister's ID and then he could have her ballot.
You
Oh my
watched it
gosh.
happen.
I saw it happen.
Wow.
I was standing 18 feet back, 3 people.
Okay.
Jeez.
So your website again, one more time there, Ken. People want to learn more. They want to get involved.
Okay.
What's your website?
Ken Reddick 4 mayor.com.
One more time. Somebody's driving right now. Somebody is. They need adequate time to write down your web address. They're driving their car. They're also doing some sort of self-help guided meditation, Christian. It's like Joel Osteen mixed with Mongolian, the monk music. There's a lot going on right now. They got a box fan turned on. They got that going on. They're watching Cubs reruns because there's no pro sports being played. They got a lot going on. A lot of distractions. They're at a bomb testing site. There's a lot of bombs going off in the background. Their cousins playing Galaga. There's just a lot going on right now. What's your web address one more time?
Ken Reddick 4mayor.com.
KenReddick4Mayor.com. Ken, I appreciate you being on the
thank
show
you.
right now. I really do hope you win.
Thank you.
You got my vote.
Appreciate it.
And you are a great American. And
You too, sir.
I really want to get the truth out there. Thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank
And
you.
are you competing against anybody beyond GT? Are you competing against? Is it basically the Communist Party versus you and GT, or maybe GT is part of the Communist Party? I don't know. I mean,
Right. So the Socialist Party showing up too. They've got quite the candidate in Gregory Robinson.
Gregory Robinson.
Yep. Local activist turned politician. He's hoping.
So really, I mean, it's you. It's Ken Reddick versus Beavis and Butthead.
Correct. We're
Okay.
polling first and second. We're polling second in name recognition, and we've polled first and second in our internal polls in actual conservative and independent support.
Have you been on Pat Campbell?
No, we have not. We've reached out, but we're still waiting our turn. Apparently,
Have you been promised a turn?
no.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
we
take
did
care
a
of
really
that.
good, 45-minute interview. in
He'll be at my
2018.
office tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I'll
You make
take
that
care of
happen. Well, you
I'll
guys
make it
exchange
happen.
numbers, and we'll see if we can do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you don't win, I mean, it's just.
Well,
not good.
it's again, it's a popularity contest, and GT
Right.
Bynum, I'd like to meet the guy. I want to know what has he done
The weasel.
for him to work for me. What has he done to run a business? What has he done to create economic growth?
He's
What
been
has
in the
he
New York
done?
Times.
Yeah, well, he's been. Yeah,
listens to Obama.
Whatever.
Successful
That's
lobbyist.
great, but he fits the mold of a politician. You
Right.
don't. So you have an uphill battle. So
That's
you've
true.
got to get out and you've got to let people know that you're for facts. You're wrong versus right. You're for the government helping, giving a hand up, not a hand out.
Absolutely.
And creating an opportunity for people to be successful in this city, versus if you meet their mold and their friends and their popularity, then you'll be successful. And it's good luck.
Thank you. I
I'm rooting
appreciate
for you.
that.
All right, let's end this show with a boom. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Boom.